Yeah, it's phenomenal numbers, especially like you said, Murph. Not someone that plays as a 9, he plays wide. So,
do you think? I believe that good players adapt to each other really quickly. I mean, people talk about relationships. I don't know what you think, Jan, but I asked this the other day about how does it change the way Liverpool or City are going to play with Nunez or Haaland. I think great players need a couple of games and a couple of weeks in training, and they'll get it.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be this long,
bedding in
elongated process. Every time I've played with good players, like I remember with Jermaine, all of a sudden I work him out quickly. Darren Bent, Michael Owen, Robbie Farr. If you've got good players, they work it out. So, although Salah might have to adapt his position on occasion, if Nunez is running behind, Salah will drop in maybe. Yeah. Come inside, play off him, little give and goes. Maybe he wouldn't do that with, different strikers. So, he'll just adapt.
I think managers do that. I think managers now, if you're playing with a front three, they have license to just roam and change positions and just go and express yourselves. It can't be so. When you do patterns of play and training, you can't express yourself. Go and win the game. Goals and assists. It's as simple as that.
Well, let's talk about Fulham's attack, shall we? Alexander Mitrovic. Much has been made of his record in the Championship. Has he got a point to prove in the Premier League?
I think so. I think when you've scored that many goals in a Championship, of course, I think naturally you'd want to think that I could now. I need to, just for yourself. Now I need to go that step up and be in the Premier League. And can I do it in the Premier League? I think people are going to be looking at him. He's the focal point of the team. Someone that scored goals in the Premiership before. But like I said, I keep saying, when you've got that many goals in the Championship, the league below, you are expected to not do the same, but get decent numbers.
Yeah, I mean that's his Championship figures. In the Premier League, 24 goals in 104 appearances. Does that need to be bettered?
Well, I think it's difficult to be too critical because when you come into the Premier League with a promoted side, you're not going to have as much of the ball. You're going to be starved of chances. Your chances are going to be less. I think if he'd have moved to a top 10 team or a top half team, he'd have scored a lot more goals. I don't think he's got a problem in knowing where the net is. Yeah. I think he's had a problem in service because when you go up a league, the quality gets higher and the lack of chances. But I do think he looks fitter and sharper than he ever has and more confident. So the way Silva plays, the way Fulham play suits him. I think this will be his best return. Is that enough to keep Fulham up? Well, time will tell. But I think this could be his best goals return in the Prem.
And in terms of providing ammunition for Mitrovic, he's got Pereira behind him. Yeah. But tell me more about Paulinho and why you think he also could be one to look out for.
Well, I think what Paulinho gives you is that mix, what you need of a holding midfielder. So you've got athleticism and tenacity, which you have to break up play and protect your back four. But he's comfortable in possession. I've seen enough of him to know. He's a bit of a late developer in some respects. I think he's come to the fore more in the last couple of years because he's been playing for Portugal. He's 27, maybe why some other clubs haven't come in for him. But I think it's a great capture. If you look at all the best teams, even the ones that survive when they come up, they've generally had a holding midfielder or a defensive midfielder who plays well and is consistently helping out the back players. But the top teams have it, Rodri, Fabinho.
It's one of the most important positions.
Yes.
In football now, you think about, I know you talk about fullbacks and fullbacks are high and a lot of your best work comes with fullbacks, but that, whether you call it a 6 or a 4, depending on what country you play in, but it's one of the most important players on the pitch because everything goes through your 6. Yeah. You have to obviously protect the back 4.
It's the engine room, right?
Exactly, you protect the back 4. You've got to break lines. So it is one of the most important positions on the pitch.
I'm intrigued to find out how Andres Pereira gets on. We don't see enough of him, of course, during his time at Manchester United, Jermaine.
Yeah, and especially with players, when you've been at a club and you've not played, and the frustrations, and especially when there's potential, there's a player in there. For me, I've always found that if you're at a club when you've struggled and you're not playing, and you move somewhere else, you've got a point to prove, and you get that fire back, and you want to prove to people that I should have been playing at my other club. They made a mistake by letting me go. And hopefully you get that with this play. It's a big season for Fulham. They want to try and stay up, and especially when you come into a football club, you want to impress the players, the manager, the staff, the fans. So I hope he does well.
Almost time for kick-off then for the first game on this opening weekend of the new Premier League season. Plenty of optimism. Hope springs eternal at this stage of the campaign, of course, and particularly for the new boys, Fulham. The strongest test of their top-flight credentials on the way against Liverpool.